They are really trying to change up the core mechanics of the game and make it feel fresh and new. And they have promised us that they're going to be fixing Cypher Rush quite soon. Well, I guess I was wrong. It has been a year since I released the original video, The Future of Identity V, and it's been 6 months since I released an updated version of that video. Now we are on the other side of the massive Time of Reunion event, and since now we're getting close to the 4th year anniversary of the game, things are starting to look a little strange. In the previous edition of this video, I predicted that NetEase was going to try and balance this game, or at least to attempt to. I predicted big nerfs for the meta survivors. This happened. Well, partly at least. Sia received a nerf to the duration of his owl, Mercenary lost one of his elbow pads and also spends less time on chair now. Mechanic received tons of decoding nerfs, mostly towards her doll, yet arguably the two strongest survivors in Identity V were not touched at all, Priestess and Forward. There is more variety now to the meta, as we have seen Entomologist, Batter, and even Toy Merchant enter the competitive scene, as transition kiting has become the most viable strategy. Oh, apart from Cypher Rush of course, how could we forget? Prisoner became the best decoder, and some survivors lost some of their decoding debuffs. Cyphers are popping like popcorn in a pan. That is fun. Not as fun as Black Phoenix YouTube live streams that have been pretty epic, streaming Identity V, Prop Night, Dead by Daylight, and even making Identity V Lego, as the viewers in the chat showed off their shiny membership badges and emotes that they got from pressing the join button next to the subscribe button. Wait, I think I got off track there. Oops. The meta is much less stale than it was 6 months ago, so that's a good thing. But the top meta survivors still remain the same as they have now for many years. The same staleness exists around the Persona web. We've had rumors that Spectator was going to have a rework, and this was over 6 months ago. Yet we still haven't received any new information, but we have received a confirmation that this is in the work by NetEase. But we do know that NetEase is prone to scrap ideas, especially if there's something that they've said that they were going to do, as they originally said they were going to fix Cypher Rush quite a long time ago, and then they said no, and then they brought it back as an idea. Although I do think that this time NetEase will rework it. As for the hunter side, I predicted that NetEase was going to give all of the older hunters a buff to their map pressure, possibly even giving them new map pressure abilities. And I was wrong. But a lot of the older hunters did get reworks and buffs and adjustments. Some of them got more impactful changes than others, but overall they did mostly all get different types of changes. Gamekeeper got a rework now where he's a little bit more consistent, so now he can put traps around the map, and his hook has become a little bit more useful since he now has infinite hook at full presence as long as he uses his hook within a certain period of time. Smiley Face got a lot of adjustments to make him feel a little bit more fluid in game and a little less clunky, since now he can attach his attachments to his rockets a little bit faster. He can now see his attachments around the map and pick them up a little bit easier, and his dash won't just be completely useless against stunners. Geisha got buffed enough to even make her into a meta hunter now, and that really is quite crazy to me. Hellumber was supposed to receive a buff, and we even got the buff technically shown to us, but then they didn't add it to the game, and then they didn't tell us why they cancelled it. They didn't even mention it after that. So Hellumber mains are a little bit sad because of that, because it was something that was mostly just going to be an addition to his original kit that was kind of already existed, but made it a little bit easier to use. Such a shame. Oh, and Soul Weaver, well, she did get a buff, but it only gave her 10 extra spores of web at the beginning of the match. That is nice, but I guess she is already a decent hunter already. Not super strong, but okay. And, well, Ripper, he just exists. Top hunters did receive nerfs. For example, Dream Witch's existence around the map can now be seen by the survivors by looking at that little symbol that pops up at the top left whenever she is quite close to you, meaning that she can't jump scare as much as she used to. Sculptor's statues did get a minor nerf, but it is relatively impactful to her as a whole. And Breaking Wheel has received multiple adjustments since his release, affecting the timing of his abilities that makes him a little bit less consistent in some ways and other forms. Top players and competitive players say we're in a survivor-sided meta, and I can see why. The Time of Reunion event was incredible, although it wasn't the game-changing event that I had predicted it was going to be. It did change the Identity V lore process though, for the better, and the event was fun, interactive, and everyone loved participating in it. The new characters were fun to play, with Little Girl being instantly a top pick in rank and in competitive, and Nightmare and Novelists, well, they fell very low on people's tier lists. But it did bring us the new lore updates where survivors and hunters would receive their counterparts of hunter and survivor, giving netties some solid ideas of what they could add to the game this year. The last hunters that they've added to the game have been a little bit lackluster. A ton of fun to play, but not a ton of fun to try and win with. Wax Artist, although incredibly fun to play and incredibly funny jokes that you can make around him that are 18+, is usually considered to be unplayable in rank, or at least really difficult to win with. And Nightmare is slowly losing favor as survivors learn how to kite him. Naiad is quite strong and does pretty well in rank, but is not really seen very often in competitive. So we can only hope that the new rumored The Lady is going to be a strong hunter that's going to change up the game just a little bit. That's all we can do. Hope. What can we expect from the future of Identity V? Well, not much. The viewership for Identity V both on Twitch and the amount of people searching for Identity V on Google has slowly been decreasing, and we are at the lowest point and the lowest searches and watches that we've been since its huge dip in 2019. Twitch views remain relatively constant and have been for many years, but that doesn't show that the game is growing at all. NetEase is currently focused on Dead by Daylight Mobile, and I can imagine that a lot of their resources are aimed towards that game and not towards ours. This is probably why we've had such little content in the past month and a bit. The 4th anniversary slowly approaches us, and I can imagine it will be quite a big event, if a little less impressive than previous years possibly. And we can really only hope that our server wins Koa 5. It's possible. I expect that the new rework for Spectator for the Persona web won't be worth investing your points into, since Knee-Jerk, Broken Windows, or Tide Turner will always be a preferable pick. I also predict that NetEase will eventually have to respond to the community's problems with the game, including ping, and the fact that recently a lot of reports have come in that people can't even open the game, of which I am one of those people. And Cypher Rush nerf? Well, I hope NetEase takes it really seriously, so let's hope for the best there. If you want to see what a pro player of Identity V thinks about the current state of the game, then you need to watch this interview that I did with Roland from B4U, where we discussed his opinion on the game and competitive Identity V.